Hey everybody, this is Tony of Class Eagles. I hope you're having a good day. Again, during this time when we're not on the field and we cannot play, I hope everyone is at home and staying safe and healthy. That is what I wanted to talk about today. Is I've started getting more and more calls and emails and texts from parents of players that are starting to have a much harder time with this. The first month or so. Everyone was in pretty good spirits. Kids were doing things at home on their own, doing all the home activities, excited about working with the ball, challenging themselves in that way. But as this has worn on and will continue to wear on, that's getting harder and harder. Again, I've said it a couple times. As a player, thinking of myself when I was a kid, this situation is very hard to fathom what that would have been like for me. Someone who absolutely loved to play and loved to compete, loved to be on the field. And because of that, I really enjoyed training because I liked to train because I knew that helped me when I got on the field perform at a higher level. So in this scenario, when you would be just training and not getting to play. I think that's gets increasingly more difficult. We don't practice to practice. We don't train to get better at training. We train to play. Soccer's the game. That's what we all love. That's what we like. Getting up early on a Saturday morning and going to the field when it's a little cold and wet and go play with our friends and compete. That's really what we love to do. The training helps us. It's important and we enjoy it, but that helps us be better at the game we love. And right now, that's just not possible for a lot of players. They can't get out there and actually play the game they love. So, with that in mind, I was asked, what can we do, for those kids, and it was hard for me to really come up with an answer. And I don't know if I really have a good one, even at this point, but because it's really hard to replace that aspect of things. But I would suggest these couple things. If your child is having a harder time being motivated to keep getting touches on the ball and train and work on the home activities that their coaches or clubs are giving them. And my first recommendation would be is make sure that we're not pressuring the players to do it. I think on top of everything that's going on, if they're feeling pressure or they feel like they have to do something, that's going to make it even tougher, even less enjoyable for them. So make sure, as parents and coaches, we're asking questions, seeing how they're doing mentally, and that they're in good spirits, something like that. But the ball can't become kind of a homework assignment or a pain. So with that in mind, maybe give them breaks. Maybe force them not to, play with the ball for a couple of days. Say, hey, we're gonna take a couple days off of doing anything with the soccer ball or thinking about soccer. Maybe just to kind of refresh the mind and the heart a little bit, I guess, too, in that way. And then after a couple days or as long as like really needed, then the player might be more excited to get those touches on the ball and do those type of things that continue to help them down the road. Second, I've been trying to remind players that as although this is difficult, and they really want to be on the field, they have to really think about how all these extra touches on the ball are really going to help them, when they do get back on the field. So take that excitement and hunger to be able to play and go back on the field and harness that in a way. It's like, I can't wait to get back on the field and show everybody what I now can do with the ball after all this time of practicing on my own. Use that as a motivation that, one day at some point you're going to be back on the field and playing in front of your friends, your family, and playing with your teammates, and how exciting that's going to be to show all you've been working on, all you've been doing, show off all your hard work. That's going to come at a later time, but, keep that in mind, that end point, that light at the end of the tunnel, keep that light shining bright, keep that right in front of the player's face, and help them realize how all this is going to really help them when they do get back on the field, and get them excited about that. Think about what they want to be able to do. Think about goals that they're going to have when they, when they can play again. All those things are going to help keep them motivated when they're playing, because again, you don't train just to train. You're always training to get better and have success on the field. So, we have to keep them focused in that way about not getting better at a training activity or a passing activity, whatever they're doing at home. They're doing it to get better at the game. So we have to keep players thinking, in that way. And then, the last thing I would say is just as much social interaction as possible. People have used a lot of this online technology with the Zoom calls, FaceTime, Google Hangouts. Get as often as possible the kids talking and hanging out with teammates, and those type of things where they're having that social interaction. I think that helps with team sports. It's not just the game, it's just being around our friends and our buddies all the time. So, the more the kids can do that on a regular basis, I think that's going to help. They're going to find that connectivity to their friends. So kind of making sure that they're doing that, using that platform to kind of create, I don't love this term, but accountability buddies, or, checking in. Hey, did you do this today? I did this today. I'm trying this. Maybe, break up teams and group of players where they're, a couple teammates are getting together and checking in every day on each other, and, seeing what they're doing and talking about little competitions and games they can have with themselves. The last thing, a lot of times this online stuff, which has been cool, is you've seen people have been very creative when it comes to soccer, doing cool things in terms of, TikTok's a popular app now, and now some of those dances that kids would always do in training, they're trying to incorporate the ball and soccer related stuff to the music and dancing. So, I think there's fun ways to engage kids and get around the game and each other without it being a pure training standpoint. So I think that's going to be important because again, as we move forward, this prolonged time away from the field and more training at home is going to get hard. It's not going to be easy. Keeping motivated. So continue to help kids through that. Use some of the strategies we talked about. If you have some strategies you're doing at home with your child, please message us, share them. We'll share them with everybody. Like everything else, we're all in this together. So the more we can share great ideas on how we can help kids through this really tough time for them, from a sports and activity standpoint, the better. So thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and wishing you and your family all the best.